So, yeah, let's switch gears a little bit. So, I want to
Yeah. So I'm gonna step away.
Okay.
It's still the tail end of a holiday for us here. So we'd like to welcome Chef Kelly and Jasper onto the stage.
Hi.
Hey guys,
And,
how are you?
Thanks for pinch hitting for us here.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And I will bid you guys adieu. But Rick, you know where to find me on text if things go sideways. I'll be kind of here in the background.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
Enjoy.
much. Yeah. So, Chef Kelly, how are you today? And we have your friend Jasper.
Yeah.
Could you introduce yourself just a little bit? Because we've got some exciting stuff to talk about and about food in general. So this is their new segment at first, and then we'll go into a deep dive as to what you guys got going on. So give me a quick overview of who Chef Kelly is and what you're all about.
Cool. I am Chef Kelly. I am a 15-year veteran of the food industry, big food to be exact. I spent the last 15 years with Nestle, Disney, and U.S. Foods as a corporate chef. So not like The Bear and some of those other chef shows you see, but definitely more the boardroom and more the R&D. I left in 2023 to pursue what was happening in the world of AI. I found a lot of interesting sustainability aspects of it. And subsequently, I kind of became a food additive advocate, like for cleaner labels.
Okay.
And so I'm working on some cool stuff right now that I'll share with you a little bit later.
Okay. So your main focus, though, all of your life is being R&D. So you're the person that kind of thinks of the big picture of things, right? So you're thinking about, what can we do to shift the company to be more sustainable? Maybe even making sure the resources are used properly and things like that too, right?
Yeah, we deal with a lot of the consumer packaged goods. So I joke that, one of my only flexes is that I could throw a penny in a grocery store and I'd hit a box that I either worked for that company, I worked for the company that worked for that company, or private labeled for that company, or maybe my recipe's on the back of it. I don't know. It's just, it's the back end, it's the B2B side of things. And, as I said to you earlier, working in R&D, we worked alongside a lot of food scientists, but we never really got to see exactly what kind of additives were being put in after we had bench tested our recipes and got the flavors right, what kind of preservatives and other things were put in there. So when I got the opportunity to sort of research deeper and wider with AI, I found out that there was just a lot of bad stuff that I'd kind of been culpable for all these years.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I've been trying to kind of right some wrongs and create a better legacy for myself.
That's very interesting because I think as a type 2 diabetic, I certainly have had an adversarial relationship with advertising, with kind of, it took me a long time to even figure out that the inside of the grocery store was where all the additives and preservatives were, and the outside was the whole foods. And I guess even the whole word whole foods came from not having additives, preservatives, and all the other stuff right? How did we get here? How did we get, is it commerce? Is it efficiency? I know adding sugar and salt makes it last longer so you can ship it across the world. And the whole McDonald's thing and Super Size Me was a whole thing. And sugar industry, just like tobacco, at first, they actually had scientists appear before Congress said, sugar's good for you, no problem. And so how did we get here? We got Monsanto and everything else. And
Yeah. So this is something I thought was just kind of conspiracy, but I actually looked it up and it's true. In the early 90s, when Philip Morris realized that their time was kind of up, that they had been caught lying to the American public, that tobacco wasn't good for you, that they had been kind of poisoning us, putting all these chemicals in it. So they split up and separately bought up a lot of the food industry. They bought up Kraft Heinz and Nabisco and even parts of General Mills. And they put those same scientists that were putting the chemicals that made tobacco addictive in our food. So as a kid of the 90s, that's all I knew. I knew brightly colorful food, ultra flavorful food, packaging that made you just, oh, please, mommy, please, And that's what we grew up with, and we became so conditioned to that salt and fat and sugar flavor that has now left all of us, most of America, chronically ill.
Oh, yeah. I was 65 pounds heavier. Along comes Mounjaro and Ozempic, and that's kind of worked for me. And, I'm a little bit more, less of me, which is good, healthier for sure.
Hey, whatever.
I did my master's thesis, and part of my research was Rolling Stone had done an article about Philip Morris, who hired these 14 people to testify in Congress about tobacco, made the exact same statement in front of Congress that created the food pyramid. Guess who benefits from beef being at the top of that puppy, right? And then you have Miss Obama, right? Michelle Obama creating the plate or the circle, right? And started to really think what is healthy. So this disinformation campaign that was engineered, one of my other favorite stories was the potato chips. Like the different potato chips were actually engineered to trigger all these dopamine, so all these reflexes in us. And then current research about the connection between your gut biome, like it's actually 85% on your vagus nerve is going from your gut, communicating up to your brain and telling it what to do. And that happens to go back to your primordial, the way that every organism is formed is a belly first and a brain second. And we don't realize that if we can be engineered to believe that this tastes, like you said, sugar, fat, etc., is that magic sauce. So for so long, we've been trying to do things that are not health related, Monsanto. Anyway, before we get too far down that thing, why don't you introduce our guest with us here today and kind of talk about what you guys are in the process of doing right now about this shift?
This is my lovely colleague, Jasper Dayton. She is an AI whiz and a marvelous marketer. And I've just created a platform actually called Dye Converter that will help small to mid-sized food brands actually switch from synthetic dyes to natural dyes, because there's a 2027 deadline on that. And so Jasper's been helping me get that to launch ready and helping me figure out what our marketing plan is after that. But we met in one of our AI communities, and she is like a whiz. She's fantastic. So everybody, Jasper Dayton. Yeah.
Well, if I want to add, can I just say, first of all, that commercial for Runway is exactly what my day looks like, and how I create these realities for people like Chef Kelly, where their dream is stuck in their head. It was stuck. It was not coming out until she saw what was possible. And I was able to show what's possible in 30 seconds rather than 3 weeks because of AI. And what's wonderful about AI is that we can get it to market so much faster so that people aren't missing out. So people aren't dying because of this lack of nutrition or all these chemicals that they're putting in. And we can then start actually making money as a business. Because what I've found is that the dream's stuck in their head. They can't hold it in their hand. And then they go into this sales resistance where they don't want to sell it because it doesn't look right, or it doesn't sound right, or they're going to be judged, or whatever their story is in their head. So now we can make it look amazing and make it ready to be sold even before the product even exists. And you can have the investors on board, and you can actually make the money to make it actually work.
I'm super excited that you just said that, because that's exactly what AITV is about. Because we just talked about the disinformation campaign, the power being in the corporations to make more money. So what are they going to do? They're going to use marketing and branding and everything. So Jasper, you're a marketing person. Have you done that all your life? And what's
it's turned into that. Thank God for AI. But it's been that way all my life. I've been running my business for 30 years. And they actually have you wear all these hats because you know how to create. You're a creator. And because you're a creator, it means you also must know how to sell it. And you also know how to do this and that. It's like, sure. As long as you can create the sale and not annoy the person that wants to buy from you. Yes, we can get the buyers to show up. But if you slam the door in their face because you don't know how to sell, there's not much else we can do.
Right. So. Well, there's, being a 25-year educator in graphic design, coming from the Miami Herald, I went in with my Macintosh Plus and plugged it in and paginated the whole front page of the Miami Herald in one piece. Yeah. Now, when I started working at Broward College in 2000, everybody graduated and got a publishing job in print. Zero anymore. Zero. Yeah. And I introduced for the first time in the United States a digital photography program to graphic design. So graphic designers started going from doing paste up and rub on letter forms to coding things to make a page design to now having every responsibility. In fact, you do SEO, you do marketing and advertising, social media management is a course I'm teaching now. So it's democratized all these tools have democratized the ability so the individual has the power, and we can get a scientist in our pocket to prove that this is horribly wrong for you. And that's where I want to make the pivot into a couple of slides and some big stories that I want to talk about that that speak to this idea. That right now AI is this pivotal point. Instead of those scientists that said tobacco's good for you and sugar's good for you being driven by almighty dollar, now we have people like Chef Kelly getting a marketing expert like yourself, and now you're empowered with the skill set to make a positive change. And the whole zeitgeist of the show is exactly that. We're moving from a place where Taylor Swift is the economy, and she drags with her $4 billion trail behind her that people get paid. When she moves into a city and does a concert, the housing pricing goes up because of the economic impact of her presence. Wow. So that's the opposite of what Prince did. This is what we talked about last episode. We talked about copyright and ownership. So what if we look at AI as an opportunity to democratize not only the tools, but the ability to understand why we need to think different. So my whole thing is think different and think in terms of what do we do to honor each other? How do we take responsibility for the food you put in someone's belly? You know, so Kelly, you talked about the idea of, you know, sort of having to a little bit rewrite your history as yourself because you feel a little tainted from.
I think, well, it's let me to be clear, like in 2016 is when I started at Disney, and it wasn't Disneyland, it was Disney Studios in Burbank, right? And Disney was the first company I'd ever worked for that was really gung-ho about sustainability. We as chefs had dashboards and metrics that we had to meet. We were from scratch, zero waste kitchens. We had to buy gestation-free pork. We could only buy fish that was pole caught no more than 150 miles off the shore. Lots and lots and lots of metrics. And I was like, all right, that's cool. Great. Yeah, you know, that's good on you, Disney. Well, number one, the reason why they had to do it was because Disney's carbon footprint is huge. You know, if you think about all the cruise ships and the resorts and everything, right? But I was like, that's great. But I was sort of with the masses. It's like, well, it's not going to do much. It's not going to do, right? And then when AI came along, I was like, it kind of dawned on me that there was this real opportunity to sort of actually make a real difference with, you know, irrigation techniques and drone seeding and really being able to make maximum yields out of crops. So many things that are available to our farmers now because of AI. But the real magic comes when we all sort of now have the opportunity to engage with one another. And no longer does Big Food have that sort of hidden secrecy behind the curtain anymore. And I thought, between the idea that we can move forward with this wonderful, sustainability opportunity, and now that we have these clean ingredients available to us, I think the world should kind of know that there's a better way. And I'm not asking anybody to go on a new diet or not buy this or boycott that. I'm asking Big Food to clean up the mess that they made. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of accountability, isn't it? Because we didn't know what we didn't know. And if we're being told by scientists that cigarette smoke is good for you, I mean, just watch an episode of Mad Men, and you got a pregnant woman smoking with a doctor while she's 9 months.
Highball, whiskey.
Right? Highball whiskey in her hand, right? And because we didn't know better, and then we kind of got sucked in and we got supersized, when we had that kind of happen. But now the transparency happens when I can do research in 5 seconds and tell you what's in this product. So I did this with my medication. I photographed all the medication and all the supplements I was taking. And it said all those supplements are redundant. In fact, 4 of them will make you really sick if you take them together. And so my daughter
gave me the only one I've heard say that. I've heard so many people tell me that they've found out about drug interactions through AI. Yes.
Yeah. And so if the privilege is on us to have agency over our own determination, and then we start thinking about, well, what can we do in our professions, in marketing, in food? what can we do about our professions to change it and to raise the Wizard of Oz, drapery and reveal what's, how the sausage is made, quite literally, in a scary way.
Well, the thing that I love what Chef Kelly's doing is she's empowering the companies to, like she said, clean up the mess, but she's empowering the consumer, which really is the thing that, controls the companies. Right. Because like yourself, I've lost 40 pounds just because I asked AI, what should I be eating because of who I am? And it gave me my recipe. It even gave me what to go buy at the grocery store and what to do. And so, which we used to hire and spend thousands to hire somebody to figure it out for us.
Yeah, I'm using the Comet browser from Perplexity right now, and it actually orders for me. So it's an agent. It's a Chrome browser from Perplexity. You got to try it out. It's now openly available for everybody. It's going to be an app on your phone very soon. So it's the old Chrome browser that you've been using forever, right? Created by Google, but they put AI on the side. So literally, I'll show you in a little bit just how that works. But like, I can go watch. In fact, today, when you were asking me questions about the slides I was showing, I said, tell me about this YouTube video. It read the entire transcript of the YouTube video and then spat out exactly what I wanted to know. And then it went searching for 500 different ones and then amalgamate. Anyway, that's a long story, but we're getting.
And I want to add, it's not taking jobs away from people. It's adding and empowering us to do our jobs even better and make us,
So here's a question for you, because I know what my answer is. Has your day gotten shorter or longer? And is the longer because you're so excited about what's next, and you're like, oh my God, Sora 2 come out. What can I do today? So you're up to 4 o'clock in the morning to figure it out, right?
So it's gotten longer.
I see your reaction. I know that
it's gotten longer, but more joyful, and because it's become, I'm not spending all this time doing things that don't matter. I'm doing the things that matter, and I'm able to do more of them. That's the part that's just exciting.
I have never worked so hard in my life. But it's because I'm making things, because I'm creating something that I'm really passionate about and that I really want to succeed. And it's like, so I'm going on fumes. I've had 4 hours sleep for the 4th time this week. Okay, it's all for the greater good. You just keep chugging ahead, and
so
I love it.
What's your big picture goal? So are you working to empower individuals with your products, or is it more about?
I think that's a really great question for Jasper too, because I think it's twofold. I think that there's an opportunity here to talk to the small and mid-sized brands that maybe couldn't afford to get into the clean label game before this, and an opportunity to talk to the larger brands who didn't want to get into the clean label game before this.
Yeah, so give us a little education. So you just used a really cool word, clean label game. So what are the key words that we need to know about in this space that can educate us?
I wouldn't even bother with the words organic. That's not what clean label means. So people don't have to be like, oh, I have to show everything organic. No, what we're really looking for is trying to get rid of those artificial dyes. A lot of people don't even know that they're petroleum-based, that they've been linked to a lot of bad things and studies that I won't mention here for risk of being sued. But the truth is they're really bad. And also they do cause a lot of hyperactivity in adults and children, and mood swings. I mean, you wonder why when you eat something that's high in high fructose corn syrup and has artificial colors, you're on a high for 20, 30 minutes and then you crash so low. And I think that if we just start to move these chemicals out of our food slowly and start to replace them with more cleaner, natural components, which is so weird because that's all we were doing in the 80s was getting rid of anything that had cholesterol or fat or anything in it or sugar and replacing it with sugar additives and salt substitutes. And now we find out 40 years later, 30 years later, that the chemicals are terrible for us. So with that said, just the movement towards cleaner labels and also the education to the consumers. I have so many friends who tell me I don't even know. They're embarrassed. They're like, I don't even know what my ingredient label says, Kelly. I don't know what it means. And I'm like, I don't either. But I just know how to ask the right questions because I've been in the industry for so long. So I think educating them on what the label says, what it means, and why
And
we should.
it's so confusing. I mean, there was a long time where,
You know what I mean?
yeah, there was a long time where a breastfeeding was a bad thing, you know, and then breast milk was bad, and then cow milk was bad, and then, you know, it's like, holy cow. It's
And
so
then pasteurized versus unpasteurized is wrong. It's like,
right. And you get conflicting conspiracy theories and sort of misinformation. And I wonder sometimes, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you don't really have to be to know that you're hearing such conflicts. In fact, one of the most craziest things I heard recently is I was listening to 7 doctors who are the tops in their field in the gut. And they were saying the understanding of the gut biome and the billions of different organisms that live there, and that biologically, the stomach is born first and then the brain follows. So trusting your gut instinct, you know, we say that all the time, is a literal thing. So the Monjuro that I'm using is actually making me have the same normalized reaction to food. I can't finish a meal, because it literally is sending a chemical signal up and saying, I'm full. And it's doing that in a couple of ways. One of the things it did that didn't work out so well is it sort of compacted and made me constipated. And like I was kind of telling you on the phone, I ended up.
Yeah, no, what drug was this?
Oh, I'm sorry?
What you said was a
Monjuro. One of the you know, the like Ozempic and all the rest of those. You know, for diabetic, that's, you know, require kind of, yeah, it's the only way I'm going to get to where I am right today, honestly. But then the side effect was that it caused constipation to such extreme that created methane and ammonia that shut my brain down. And then the doctors didn't even know that. So anyway, to get back to these 7 doctors that were on this, and I had to find that YouTube video. They were talking, they said, how much do you know about this? And what have you learned in the last 6 months? They said that they really still only know 30% of what they need to know. Like they don't even understand. The top scientists in gut health, right? And in the last 6 months, they learned half of that because of these new innovations in studying how our systems work. And the idea is, so our show kind of thing goes by the Iroquois Nation Confederacy, that we are born of responsibilities. And number 2, we think 7 generations ahead to plan for, and we are born in service to our community. So what you're doing is in service to the community of humanity.
Right.
And what you're doing is helping think in terms of 7 generations in the future. We want to live longer. We want to be healthier. We want to get rid of disease. And we're using AI in a positive way. And that's what this show is all about. So you perfectly align with it. And that's why I'm so happy to have you on here, because it literally is an educational process and a re-educational process, because, but now we have the agency. If you're curious, I think the number one thing is adaptability and curiosity. So what tools are you using? Let's start with you, Jasper, for marketing and for kind of helping this process along for you as a professional. And then how do you amplify Chef Kelly's message to the public?
Well, I love that question. And she asked me that question today, and I had to think. I was like, I use at least 20 tools throughout the entire day. And so and there's a new one that pops up every day. But the core tools are, I mean, the core tools, I mean, chat is like, if for the normal consumer using Chat GPT, you could just, there's so much you can do with that, but then even customizing it and creating your own Chat GPT that has your brain is even better. But I mean, what I use, I start with Photoshop, obviously, because that's my core program. But then now with all the things that are integrated into Photoshop,
now you have Nana Banana in Photoshop as a plugin.
Oh my God, I created a full 2-minute video of me walking on a tightrope in heels and communicating to my target audience. I mean, I was doing things that you can't do. And I did it in a matter of 6 hours, which normally, with the video that I created, which normally would take 6 months to a year to produce it and to have the script. So everything was done immediately. And that's the part that just blows my mind. But there's Nano Banana, there's Kriya, there's, there's so many.
This whole show, in fact, tonight we're doing a deep dive on Firefly boards. So you're going to want to stick around for that. Here's a quick plug. So far we have created a deep dive on Chat GPT. It's 30 minutes long, 39 minutes long. find it on Rick McCauley YouTube channel right now. So just spell my name right, and it's right there, folks, for you watching from home right now. Just go to the YouTube channel and take a look for that. So it has attached notes, which is literally everything you need to know about ChatGPT, how to create folders or project folders.
Yes.
So if you're doing Chef Kelly as a client, you create a folder, you put everything in there. You can load up 200 megabytes worth of data that she's created, her whole persona group, her message, her screen, her brand identity, etc. And then when you're asking questions, you get it based upon that. Then you can create GPTs if you want to test out some recipes. How healthy is this? Tell me where the problems are in this particular thing. Or photograph food. I'd love to have maybe Chef Kelly, you might design a few GPTs that can serve the public that you post on the site. So they can take pictures of their food and it can analyze it, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
So Chef Kelly, how are you using it to amplify what you do or what you've been doing?
Well, what I've been working on for the past 3 months has been the platform. And so it's a dual human research and AI research for all of the natural dyes that are replacing the synthetic ones. And so we've just been scouring the corners of the internet, pulling from the FDA websites, the World Health Organization websites, yada, yada, compiling it all.
Can you help the layperson for a second? Because you keep mentioning the dyes. Is this like red dye number 9 or whatever it is?
Red number 3, red number 40, yellow number 5 and 6. They're basically in every.
So the whole thing for dyes is to make the food look good?
Yeah. So they are, first and foremost, they are petroleum-based. So they're literally made in the same silos and vats that our gasoline is made out of, and it's a byproduct of that. And they figured out in the 60s that using some sort of light refraction, yada, it's very technical. I don't quite understand it. You could get really, really bright, concentrated colors out of it that you would just need just a few little drops within your 100-gallon batch of ice cream or bakery products, whatever, that would go a long way. And I won't get into it here because I think but we could have a whole other show about the FDA's lack of oversight
for the layperson that wants to.
Right.
So why should we care as a layperson about these dyes? Because they're poisoning us?
Well, most of them, if not all of them, have over time been linked to chronic illnesses and ADHD, mood swings, sometimes cancer.
Okay,
some of them
it's
are
not Tylenol that's the problem with ADHD. Just to get that clear for the non-presidential people out there, that that's not the cause. There's many environmental.
Oh yeah. No. It's not the cause. There's no causation, but there is linked to symptoms that might be exasperated by synthetic colors.
Oh, certainly.
Yes.
And life in general causes some of the ADHD. I mean, like we're just talking, I can't keep my head straight as to what's coming next or what to do about it.
Right.
So why did you pick that particular niche, or are there other niches that you're interested in the whole food thing? So are you concerned about waste, and are you concerned about what are the big issues that you particularly want to pick up your evaluate?
One hand washes the other. The fact that there's so much toxic runoff from the way that these synthetic dyes are made, just getting rid of them in general will
the whole environment.
Yep. Same with high fructose corn syrup. It's a synthetic process. It's an ultra process, which is also not good for the environment.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's taking the worst offenders, the lowest hanging fruit that people already know about and already are trying to weed out on their own. And sort of just putting the pressure where the pressure needs to be put and saying it's now or never, guys. I think Jasper and I were just talking about this as we were ideating earlier. I think brands need to understand that customer loyalty comes with transparency and truth in labeling.
Yes.
And the more they dig their heels in and try to shell game us and sleight of hand, they're going to keep wondering why their profits are dropping. And I think they can get ahead of this. They can really have some longevity in the consumer loyalty.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. None of us want. All of us love our diet sodas and our other stupid things that we kind of get addicted to, because honestly, caffeine's the #1 drug in the world. And National Geographic did a whole special. It's more addictive than cocaine or heroin. And there's a reason for it, which is okay. Which it picks you up in the morning. It changes gives you a little boost every once in a while. but that has long-term consequences, which I am an absolute participant and victim. And even knowing what I know about it, I'm still drinking right now. I've got one right
Oh
here.
yeah,
Like,
I am no saint. I am no saint. I'm not sitting here like clean label poster child. I think it's a quality choice that our big food manufacturers should be making.
Well, and the vision that I've been able to help with Chef Kelly is her app, her dye converter that she is putting out there, that she's been able to develop very quickly, because of AI and because of her expertise when it comes to food dyes and all that other stuff. She's going to make it so that not only does the food manufacturer able to figure this out without having to spend a huge amount of money and then raise consumer prices, but she's also going to have another market segment where she can have the consumer be educated, because the consumer doesn't have time. They don't have time to figure this out. They're just trying to make a meal that they actually can eat.
Gotcha.
And if they can save them the time so that they can make good choices that fit their lifestyle, that's phenomenal.
And let's be honest, dog whistling all day long isn't going to put enough pressure on any of these companies. But people who say, I'm not going to spend my money on your brand anymore, will.
Ooh, that's it.
Yeah.
Vote with your pocketbook, right? And an informed customer also puts pressure on them to be more transparent. And when they do, we should celebrate them. So who's your favorite brands out there these days? Who do you celebrate? I mean, do you like Whole Foods? Do you like Whole
Foods is owned by Bezos now, so I don't really know how I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Yesterday was actually
Murdoch bought the Wall Street Journal. That was kind of the same thing for journalists. They kind of say, "Oh, really? Oh, ouch!"
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm really happy to see that a lot of brands have decided to go dye free by 2027, which is what the administration put as the deadline. There's one. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but yesterday was actually National Chewing Gum Day or something like that, and on LinkedIn I did this whole article about like how it's made out of PVA rubber and all these synthetic dyes and sweeteners and everything like that. And there's 3 or 4 really nice natural gums on the market now that's actually made from real tree sap and actually has real spearmint or peppermint flavoring. And I think that's wonderful because, I mean, that is like, think about your checkout line. And you're just like, oh, I'm gonna grab a pack of gum. And it is like it's like a glob of toxic waste in your mouth. So I think that it's
okay.
Just
You're kind
really...
of scaring me right now because I do chew gum. Of course, I do Skittles too. So you know
the
what?
more you know, right?
Yeah. My favorite thing of all time was Doritos. I bought some Doritos out of a vending machine. On the back it said, "May cause anal leakage," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" They actually put it on there, and I took a picture of it. I'm like, no one's going to believe this, that they actually put the label on there, and then you're still going to eat it. And I finished the entire pack, and luckily there was no side effects, I guess.
Let me say something about Doritos while you're on that. So I have a friend who is in upper north state of Washington State and is going to go back to Vancouver soon, where she was born. She wants to go back and live there. And we were having a conversation, and she said, you know what's really hot up here right now, like all the rage? Natural Doritos. And I was like, I felt like I've been like kicked in the stomach because like we know that a lot of these additives that we have in our food have been banned in Canada and the UK for years. And they're right there. Natural Doritos like are being manufactured and sold to Canadians, but they won't do it for us. And it just, it pains me when I hear stuff like that. It kills me.
Yeah, even like natural sugar now from Mexico in Coca-Cola, that's, a thing. And so it's kind of weird how we're finding it out. And every other country in the world seems to have the greed is not the thing that drives the market. And we unfortunately are right in the middle of it's an extraction economy, period, end story. I mean, it certainly privileges the bottom line. And that's why we have the wealthiest people and the poorest people. And did you know that our happiness index, we're now number 25 in the world? We were number 12 or 13, and this is just the last 6 months. So,
are we talking countries?
Huh?
Talking countries? 25 out of 179 countries?
Happier countries in the world than us, and one of them I think was Mexico. It's like seriously, when you're below Mexico, I'm sorry. I mean, it's a great place. I've been there a few times.
Do you know that we import more organic fruits and vegetables from Mexico than we grow here in our own land?
Yeah, and it's about to soon to be even more because so what happens when all the immigrants get sent away? Who's going to do that job? Are drones taking over fast enough for that to be
I
automated
don't
with food
listen.
production?
The drones aren't going to be able to do the hand picking of like your fruit orchards, your grapes, like for wineries and things like
Oh,
that.
I did see a drone that did apples from trees that did a pretty
Really,
decent
how
job.
fast? Really?
Yeah, like faster than any human could do it. Well,
Okay.
they have also
That's
they have
impressive.
the tree shakers. So they have tree shakers that'll knock them out, and then you have a net that goes underneath the apple orchard tree kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I'm sure they're coming up with ways. And the other one that I saw that was kind of cool is as they till the soil, they have laser that looks at any aphids or any kind of things on the plant and laser zaps them out
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
it's tilling the soil. I mean, that's crazy. So
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
about pesticides. That's awesome, right? So all
Yeah.
these little tiny things. So what do you say we take a look at a couple of pictures and news stories, and we'll talk about that, and love to get your reaction.
Yeah.
Brandon, do I need to do anything other than share my screen here? Is he still there with us?
Did we just blather for like an entire hour?
I know, right? I want to. I'm ready.
I'm just getting started.
Let me. Oh, I am screen sharing. I think I just need to put that over there. Okay, there we go. I'm already screen sharing. So there we go. Can you see the AI sees nutrients? So this is an image created with ChatGPT, and then I went over to Ideogram to execute it. But basically, AI can actually look at, by just photographing your food, tell you what, you can see it's horrible there, but vitamin C, antioxidants, and what's in it. Like, so this is crazy, right? How is that possible?
Well, I mean, it's basically just taking a picture of your food. It's scanning your food. So if it goes, oh, that's an apple, it's going to know there's lycopene or, whatever else is inside.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So
no, I think this is the story. If you
I mean, tell me if there's something I'm missing here.
Yeah, the in the Word document that I sent you, there's even more detailed. It can tell you if it's, how much longer it needs to ripen for a banana before you eat it. I mean, it's calculating these things. So MyFitnessPal had a thing for a while that you just photograph your food, and then it breaks down what the nutrients are. And then when you exercise, it balances your intake with your outtake, and it kind of calculates stuff. Now imagine that you've got MyFitnessPal, you're photographing all your food, so you don't have to sit there and say, I had 2 bananas, I had 1 banana, I had a half a banana, or I had meat, or I had this. It actually, you photograph your food, and then if you tell it where you're at, it will really calculate it. So if you're eating at, some Pizza Hut or something, right?
Yeah.
It'll tell you exactly what's in that particular thing that's from the menu because it has all its database. So
that's fantastic.
That's what AI is doing, is that it's aggregating all this information so you don't have to. And then if you got an app that speaks to, and my big thing is Life Force, it's an app that basically is a large language model put on your local device, just like Alexa, that you fed it every single one of your dental records and your entire DNA from 23andMe, and then imagine that everything you eat and comes into your food all gets aggregated in one place, and then you just say, "Hey Alexa, tell me why my stomach's hurting," and it'll tell you exactly why, or what should I eat now? How much more exercise am I going to do?
DNA and all that stuff. Wow.
Well, I have to add to that because I used an app that was very similar to that, and I'm from Wisconsin, and so we eat cheese curds. And so I had it scan the cheese curd, and it said, "Do not eat that." And it told me why. And I was like, oh, so that was my first step in the losing of the 40 pounds, was that eye opener of what exactly I was putting into my body.
Yeah.
Even though we're set, they market cheese curds and beer and all that around here, like, yeah, go for it. But no.
Yeah. And, usually I'm trying to eat foods that are, what's the word for it? It helps your digestion or whatever by, what am I thinking of? But anyway, so I was eating food that was expanding my stomach. And of course, when you have severe diarrhea, that's the worst thing you could do. And so,
probiotics?
No, well, the probiotics also added to it. So that was a bad thing as well. But it was, bulk of fiber. I'm sorry, fiber. So I was doing high fiber, and high fiber just made it expand and then started making it gas off. So I was eating high fiber foods and lettuce and stuff like that, and it was all fermenting in my belly. And I had no idea. And I was thinking, oh, that's good for me. And then I said, no. And then my daughter, who's really super healthy and thinks about this all the time, she started getting me these supplements. Well, it turned out that I had cramps on my legs, so I had magnesium, I guess. And then it turns out that my daily pill was enough, and then too much magnesium caused another problem. So literally, I took everything that I ever tried and I put it out there, and I said, "Tell me what I should get rid of, what I should add." And I got down to like just 3 supplements a day. You know, your basic, everyday pill for everything. But it's sort of interesting what you don't realize, like you just said, right? It's that you didn't realize these cheese curds were, could be a problem, especially with.
Well,
other
I have
foods.
to add, those cheese curds were fried cheese curds. They weren't just cheese.
Right.
It was like a double whammy, so
Okay.
with a beer on top of that,
So the second story is that you can load your DNA and then have a dietary program custom designed for you.
Yes.
There's an app for that now. How cool. So how does this work, Chef Kelly? What's the science behind knowing what your DNA is and whether you should do a Mediterranean diet or a pescatarian diet or that kind of thing? Is that?
I know how they get the DNA, but it probably has something to do with, I've been looking into sort of inflammation diets for a while, and almost every single, and I don't even like the D word at all, but most nutritional programs point to either high protein or lots of vegetables and fish, like a Mediterranean diet. And there isn't it called like the blue? There's something in Italy, or there's like a village, is like they'll call the Blue Village or something, where they're like the longest living people on the planet, and they're the healthiest too.
It's Italy and Japan, and there's 3 factors that do it: food and diet, and also the amount of time that people stay resident and their lifestyle. So in Italy, it's a slow lifestyle. It's a very human lifestyle. You have lots of friends. In Japan, people, as they get older, are thrown parades for them. So it's both psychological, sociological, and then it is DNA. So here's my little DNA thing that I found out. So I have visceral fat. So I've got all my fat packed around my lungs and everything. Why? Because it turns out that not only was I Irish and Scottish for a while, but I go back to Sweden. So my ancestors were packing on the pounds because they had to. It was cold as can be up there, right?
Yeah.
So we eat a lot of meat. So we'll go out and kill a caribou and do this kind of stuff. So now I'm in South Florida where it's 100 degrees in the summertime. And I literally have gone every single summer to get the heck out of town. I went up to Canada one year, though. We did a home exchange in Canada, and it was 102 degrees. It was the hottest temperature ever in Toronto or wherever we were, right? Yeah. And, every time I seem to go. So I started going to Iceland because I'm guaranteed it's going to be about 32 degrees there. So, and then I go there and end up losing weight. And then I eat food that's really, in that Mediterranean. And for me, it's a lot of protein. That's kind of working for me. And I got to work out with some weights. That's the way that I've got to get the bulk of my, as I get older, my weight. I used to lift weights all the time and stuff, but it's sort of interesting that now, if you can understand your DNA, you're kind of seeing where your ancestors came from and how, because we don't evolve as an organism as quickly as we do as a society or food.
Correct.
So really the reason why we didn't adapt to eating McDonald's all the time is because our organism is built to hunt and gather and wait for a week before you get your next meal and then 100%. Be grazing in the meantime. So you're eating the fruits and leaves and all this kind of stuff. And then you get one big meal.
The slower burning sugars and slower burning carbs and grains. Yep.
There you go. So if you pack it into high fructose corn syrup, you supersize me in an instant. I mean, it was predictable, but we didn't know what we didn't know. That got to kind of get into the thing, right? So then this one's sort of interesting. So, and we'll see an animation of this in a minute, but
that's a big sushi. Look how big.
I know, right? I want to eat at this place. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on with those pastries over there and the spaghetti and meatballs I kind of get. So it's one robot, all cuisines. So they trained robots. So what's going on in the world today? And in fact, Anthropic and a couple other companies are actually paying doctors, lawyers, and all kinds of professions to actually go do what they do for a living, paying them like $10,000 for a day, basically to show their process. And they're creating agents that do the jobs. Yeah. So literally, instead of, so if you're a lawyer, you're doing a case, they're studying how you do it. Now, the way robots in Amazon. So Amazon just put in 1 million robots that replaced 10 million human beings. You know how they trained the robots? They watch videos of humans doing the job that they went into that same factory and did.
Yeah.
So they basically have the layout of the factory, and they do this video game kind of scenario. What happens if this falls? What happens if this gets wet, etc.? And then they watched human videos over and over again and saw the patterns of behavior and looked for efficiencies. Then they just basically plug in a module for this factory. You're the robot that does this, you know, all the way around. You plug yourself in at night, you're 24/7. It's like, oh, man. But now they're doing it with doctors. Now they're doing it with lawyers. Now they're doing it with nurses. And now they're doing it with graphic designers, marketing people. In fact, Adobe has a product. If you haven't seen it before, it's called Gen Studio. It literally will take a Coca-Cola size social media marketing campaign with billions of assets that have to go distribute. So they basically did this in 8 hours. They took a new product from Coca-Cola, made up one for fun. They fed it through the system. It made audio, video, translated into 47 different languages, put kind of all kinds of guardrails. So when it's played out in China, so they loaded up all the experience of every single social media marketing campaign, every SEO that Coca-Cola had ever done in its history, look for the most successful. And they said, hit the 22 to 24-year-old target market in China. And it basically created this entire thing. It rolled out all the assets, all automated. And the only question they had was they did side-by-side testing to see if humans would react. And one of the questions, they had a dog in the picture. Well, the dog that would go to England is a different dog that would play in the United States, is a different dog that would play in Japan. So they had human reviewers actually telling which one they wanted. So there's a human in the loop, but only for the human things the humans care about. That and my favorite thing that I tell my students is, do you remember the car, the Nova, N-O-V-A?
Yeah.
So in Spanish, so they tried to sell it in South America, and they didn't sell anything. They're like, why not? Well, no-va means no go. So they're trying to sell this no-go car, right? So an AI would get that messed up because they wouldn't realize that that doesn't translate right. Or maybe it would get it right.
Well, here's the other thing regarding the AI and the robots, because I have a robot mower. I've got robots that do things for me.
Okay.
But,
how do you
but
like
I
that?
need to have somebody that knows how to fix it. So,
Yes.
you know, so now the jobs are either going to be the human beings fixing the robot, or we're going to have robots that fix the robots. So like for the agents, the AI agents, you can have another AI agent fix what the other AI agent screwed up too. So
yeah, but like I just got a Roomba myself, and you know, I kind of figured out that you got to watch it a little bit because it gets caught on rugs and it maybe sucks up your diamond ring or something, you know. So you got to watch it a little bit. You got to have a human.
You have to have a budget also to fix it when it breaks, when you aren't planning on it breaking.
Well, aren't they getting so cheap that you just get a new one? It kind of feels like
yes.
Well,
in Japan for a long time, they made their refrigerators extremely expensive because they had to pay for the refrigerator repairman. And so literally they built that into the cost, even though the refrigerator repairman never had to come out. They actually built in the cost of it. In America, we responded with commercials that said you never need to have the refrigerator repairman. I don't know if you remember this. It was a commercial back in the 80s, you know, and we're kind of getting further and further there. So this kind of scares me, but it also sort of, and where they're imagining this being used is in schools. So imagine instead of the lunch lady, you got little Johnny knows he has, you know, a gluten intolerance or whatever. And custom-made meals can be made for them. So that's kind of on the cool side. And then, I don't know, I would miss, I mean, I don't miss being a fry cook at McDonald's.
See, a lot of these robots are meant to take away some of the liability that comes with more dangerous jobs like fry cooks and burger flipping and chopping and chopping and chopping. I mean, it's great and really cool. They're talking about Michelin star chefs. And, you know, maybe it's because of the precision. But as Jasper duly noted, they're gonna break. They're gonna break, and when and what time? And are they near the water? And are they gonna spark? And like, you know?
Yeah, that's actually kind of a decent job for people to do. I mean, it's at least a higher level job, and that's kind of the thing is that you want it to amplify, not replace the good jobs. I mean, I don't know. Are the people that work in the food industry? Would you rather be a line cook and prep person, or would you rather someone else do it and then you take care of the human relationship with the people in the front, or other?
Exactly.
Where would you want to be if you had a choice? Do you
Yeah.
want a dishwashing machine to wash your dishes, or do you want some homeless guy to have that as a job, entry back into society? It's
Oh
kind
man,
of a lot of
that's a
questions.
really deep conversation. I think that there is
Yeah.
nothing wrong with the thing is people throw around the word low skill or no skill, which I think is really insulting to human
Yeah.
beings, to be honest with you. But when we're talking about lower skill, higher liability, there is a trade-off there where
Okay.
we're not concerned that you're going to burn yourself or cut yourself or injure yourself, slip and fall. And
Right.
it's a skill that isn't super difficult to do. It's very repetitive, so on and so forth.
Right.
And maybe that will free you up to do more things, like interact with the human beings, run the cash register, or
That's a curious question. Is there repetitive action things in the food industry that are damaging to people long term?
Oh,
I mean, certainly
absolutely. I know a lot of prep cooks who have carpal tunnel, for instance.
Okay.
I mean, I've got plenty of my burns from the commercial ovens, but the biggest injuries mostly are slip and falls in commercial kitchens. Yeah,
Okay.
and a
So if
lot
you
of
had a Roomba there, it might take care of some of that, maybe? It runs out as soon as there's water spilled or something, or food?
Well,
Yeah.
the other thing with the robot that does work out well that I've seen here in a university town is once they order the food, it gets delivered. And now the delivery person isn't in danger. It's delivered by a robot. And
Yes.
they aren't being confronted or hurt by people that,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Yeah, so in Miami, they have the robots just driving up and down the street, and delivering food directly. Hotels, I just did a presentation to hotel companies, and they're having room service done that way. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about somebody molesting you when you go in there. You don't have to worry about, and it speaks your language. So for Chinese people, it was like, it could interact with them. And the smarter it gets, the more it could do. It's just self-cleaning toilets. There's so many little things that a human doesn't want to do. And then they said, well, what do we do and retrain these people that are, go clean the rooms and everything? Well, you have them be customer service, and they wear a device so they can understand. If they only speak Spanish and English, they can talk to the Chinese customer. And all of a sudden they can think about, hey, this customer's a repeat customer. It's their anniversary. Let's get them some Hamilton tickets. It was like, then they walk away with memories. And so I started off the speech and I thought it was pretty cool. And I had ChatGPT help me with this. You're in the memory business. What they don't want to have to remember is what the Wi-Fi password was at the hotel they stayed at.
Yeah.
They want to feel the warm sun on their skin as their skin is now tanned. And they walk around with this memory because they got Hamilton tickets and they had champagne waiting for them.
Yeah.
They want to have the memory not of you getting in the way and you having to be asked for the Wi-Fi password, but that's all done and they're customer first driven.
Yeah.
So
and we
for
can enhance that experience with
So if
combination of all
I'm
that.
delivering the food, the most high paid people in the food industry are the chefs. The chef's probably the number one. Number two is those people that make an experience for their customer, a sommelier that sits there and talks about what their needs are, a chef that custom designs for them, a meal that's absolutely superb and fitting to what their likenesses are. So predictive analysis of what the customer wants. And imagine if you came into a restaurant and it says that, you just kind of put your code in and then it tells you what you're going to like on the menu. And it kind of lights up the things that you don't want. And I've been twice to the restaurant where my friend is super allergic to certain things in soups. And she asked like literally 20 times. And then she got the food and it had whatever it was in there that she couldn't eat in the soups. And we got up and left. I said, look, you just lied to us, and that's not right. Because she literally has an allergic reaction to this thing. And you said it was, I think maybe it was peanuts in the soup, something like that, right?
Oh, well, peanuts is not a living matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cross-contamination and food allergens are the biggest liability for the companies that, the restaurants and the dine brands and things like that.
Okay. So a lot of this stuff can be really used for a lot of good and not displacement, right? So here's
Yep.
one of the other things. So in France, every restaurant's required to take the night's leftover food and distribute it through the community, mostly to people that are food shy. They don't have enough food.
Mhm.
So the supply chain management for major restaurants. I mean, I can imagine Disney's has got to be an incredible, like you said, that you have to get your food actually locally sourced,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's one of the big things, isn't it, in the food industry, is how do you
Yeah.
get the food as local as
We
possible?
Yeah, well, not only did we buy seasonally and locally, but we partnered with Chefs to End Hunger and also the LA Mission so that they would actually come by all of our
Oh, that's right. You're in
campuses
LA.
at the end of the day and pick up the food that could be. I mean, there's certain things you just can't. It's been out too long, or
Right.
it won't travel well.
Right.
But anything that we could donate, absolutely, 100% we could.
Yeah,
it's
we had a
great.
thing at McDonald's, like apple pies only lasted 20 minutes on the shelf, and then so every night we'd be eating them right before they went bad, and we only had to show the casement for the apple pie, so that was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. And then we've got this, which is so they trained on Michelin star recipes, and now robotics are getting to the dexterity level that they can memorize all these recipes and then create them. I'm going to share this next one real quickly here.
Woo!
Okay, so this is Firefly, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later when we get to our tool time part of the episode. But basically, so what do you think about this? So what happens when it can execute on any chef's greatest things and then copy everybody's chef? I mean, talking about artists being upset about stealing their work, what does that look like?
But can it out execute the best chef? But can it really?
Well, according to, so they did a blind taste test,
Mhm.
and they had 10 Michelin star chefs prepare the same meal, and they had their robot that had trained on them, actually.
Yeah,
It
train
watched
on them.
videos, right? So I don't know. This part kind of freaks me out a little bit.
I think in the grand scheme of things, I think that I would go watch a robot chef give me a 5-star meal, 100%,
Right?
but like 2 or 3 times. And then it would be like, all
Yeah.
right, been there, done that. I think that we're going to see in every genre, in every type of business and industry, a resurgence of I want handmade, I want a
Oh,
story, I
yeah.
want another person
Yeah.
behind it, and I think that
Ooh.
we're gonna
Wait.
see
Back up a minute, because you said the magic word, the story.
the
Tell
story.
me,
People are
tell
gonna
me about the
want this.
story of food. Tell me something eloquent about the story of food. Food isn't just something you ingest and poop out, right? It's a
Right.
story. What is the story when you have prepare a meal? So I'm assuming you probably have friends over and you're preparing a meal for them.
Yeah.
What's the story of that meal? Thanksgiving, for example. What's
Yeah,
the
I think
story?
for me, I think that one of the reasons I became a chef was I felt like there was a lot of maternal instinct in cooking for people, and it's like
Okay.
manja, eat, sit down, let me take care of you, put your feet up. What can I get for you? and I think that's in a lot of food cultures. It's about family, it's about gathering, it's about tradition and culture. You have it at
Yeah.
funerals, you have it at births, you have it at weddings and quinceaneras and bat
Yes.
mitzvahs. It's food. It bonds us all together. Everybody
Yeah.
has to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we think about Thanksgiving, like you said, but mitzvahs and Thanksgiving, Christmas. I mean, deaths, wakes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the shared communal story. In fact, probably the biggest thesis of this show also is that the difference between AI and everything that's human is the story.
Yeah.
It's about the first kiss and the last goodbye. It's about the only human experience. So I had ChatGPT, I asked it, tell me about your first kiss. And it said, well, I've never kissed someone.
Yeah.
And I said, even take from all human readings that you ever read and make me something eloquent. And it fell completely short. And then I did this other one, and I wrote and I put in it. I talked about, I wrote personally, handwritten, this whole thing about the difference between humans and AI was the blood, sweat, and tears. That's the phrase and so I went on for a while and I got really wax poetic about it, and started thinking about this. And then when it rewrote it, I asked Claude to make it sound better. It took out blood, sweat, and tears. And I said, why in the hell did you take that out? That was the whole nexus point of the entire thing. And really what it ended up saying was it did not know what blood, sweat, and tears meant to us, right? Because it's not a language it speaks in. And then here's a really deeper dive. So when they train large language models, they train it on vertices off of different words. So if I said Frodo, right? You have the hero's journey. You can go over and look at Star Wars and look at the hero's journey there. So one word, and any word, it could be the ring, the one ring to rule them all, could be that point that explodes in every vertices of information into ways that the AI doesn't. So it's a next word prediction, or it's a hero's journey. If you said, here's the pattern of hero's journey. So if it trained on Joseph Campbell, it understands that every story in humanity pretty much is that story.
Right.
And if you didn't know it, which is really cool, the Bible is a collection of thousands of people's writings. Many of it was written after death and an oral tradition passed down. But it's a how-to guide for how to be good and how to be bad and what happened if you're bad kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So
So can I share something that you brought up that really sparked an idea? And
yes,
where my son, he was like 8, maybe 7. And we had Alexa, and I allowed him to play whatever music he wanted to play. And he actually started to have a really good conversation with Alexa. He had so many questions, and I was busy. So he would ask her anything until one day, because he developed, a good, trusting relationship with Alexa. And he asked her, Alexa, do you have a boyfriend? And she said, I am happily single. So you need to ask Alexa that. But with that being said, I gotta go pick up my son, so I'm gonna exit. But I love everything that you've shared, and everything is amazing.
That's perfect. What a beautiful story. I love that. Yeah.
Yes. But thank you,
Jasper and Chef Kelly. Thank you so much for sharing. It's been a fascinating conversation. I've been listening on the background. And you're welcome back anytime.
It's been absolutely wonderful, ladies. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you. So insightful. So much fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and come back, and I'd love to hear more about what your next steps are going to be, and when you start to actually get these things launched, definitely come back and share with us your great success. And I wish great success to you because you're doing really vital work. This is definitely what the world needs, and so bless you for that.
Yes.
Now I'm just hungry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Bye.